Hi everybody, it's Annie. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this video, I share my journey in moving in together with Keith in our very first apartment. I'm going to chat a little bit about why we decided to wait to move in with each other and how we navigated living together. Let's get started with the makeup product. Today's product is the Rare Beauty Liquid Blush. This is in the shade Bliss. I bought this a while ago and I love this blush. It is a light pink, very cute, very playful. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on. I put this step on after I do my foundation and my concealer, and then I do the blush, and then I put my powder on top. Today I only have foundation on. I don't have any contour or concealer, so this is just going to go on with a base foundation. So you just open it up, looks like this, and I am just going to dot it right here and right there, right here and right there, boom, and a little bit on my nose there. And I'm going to take a brush to brush it out. I'm just going to dab and blend, dab and blend. Again, the blush placement, I usually go on my bone because that is the high point where the sun will hit, and that is where I will naturally get sunburned. And so that to me is what gives a blush a natural look. It's going to your natural structure of your unique bones. And it's so cute. This shade is so cute and playful. It's just one liquid blush. And that's it. Super cute, super playful, very subtle, but you still see the blush. So I'm going to finish it off with a setting powder. So this is the look of the Rare Beauty blush with just a foundation base. No contour, no concealer, just a foundation base. It's very subtle. I put two-ish dots on the cheek, one dot on the nose, and I just blend and I set it with a finishing powder. That is the Rare Beauty Liquid Blush in the shade Bliss. Let's get started with the video. All right, so moving in together. Keith and I are high school sweethearts. We met when we were 16 and 17, and we have been in a romantic, committed relationship since then. It's been 10 years, and we got married 1 year ago, the first apartment that Keith and I moved into. That was during college. So there's 3 different locations before Keith and I moved into our first apartment. I first did the university dorms. Then I moved into an apartment with 1 girl, and then I moved into a house with 4 other girls. And then after that, Keith and I decided to move in. For him, Keith is 1 year younger, so his living experience was the university dorms, and then he lived in a house with a good amount of dudes. I don't remember the number, but it was a good amount of dudes. And then we moved into an apartment. So the reason why Keith and I decided to wait to move in with each other is because we really wanted ourselves to have an individual university experience. It's important for us to understand what it's like to live in different environments, to get the full university experience. And I believe we did that. We both had individual dorm experiences. We both had individual experiences living with other people. And that really helped us really feed ourselves before committing to moving into an apartment together. We're both young, we're not established yet, we're not in our careers, and we don't have a consistent income. We have part-time jobs. It's important for us to have the responsibility of providing our fair share and splitting finances. So rent was always split in half. I think it's really important for especially college students to always split your finances. You are getting an independent degree. You are independently figuring out what you want to learn, what career you want to go into. So it's important for you to also get the experience of learning how to have the responsibility of paying your fair share in finances. In my opinion, it's a little bit different when you're more established in your careers and you have more steady income and you have more experience with money, budgeting, finances, and you're more self-assured. I think finances then looks a lot different true purpose, especially if he is committed to a relationship with a woman. This does not apply to all men, but this is just for straight men who want to be in a long-term committed relationship. In my opinion, their basic responsibility is to pay the mortgage or the rent or the environment that they are living in, because that provides that man a stable goal and a structure to continue to provide and have purpose. Okay, that gives him purpose. And if he is deciding to be in a marriage, in a committed relationship, that is his purpose, right? Men have choices now. You don't have to be married. You don't have to be in a committed relationship with a woman. So you do not have to pay the rent, pay the mortgage, pay anything. You don't have to do that. You can be a single dude who just likes to live, do hobbies, and live with his bros. That's fine. Please do not commit to somebody if you do not know or want to commit to the stack of responsibilities of being committed to another person, especially if you're in a straight marriage and you are a man and you want a wife and you want a family. Okay? There's a lot of responsibilities. A lot of men cannot live up to that. So I encourage men to please do not feel pressure to be married. Please do not feel pressured to find a woman. Just live your life, live your best life, and be happy. You do not need a woman to be happy. You can give that to yourself. Okay? Please stop wasting women's time. Thank you very much. Another part is splitting chores, understanding what works for each other and what works for the team, right? Keith and I both love cooking. We really love cooking. Food is a very important element in showing love to family and your loved ones. And so cooking is something that Keith and I both shared. For me, I like vacuuming. I like tidying up the counters, tidying up our knickknacks, really keeping our space and counter space and our floors and our living space clean. So that is responsibility for me because that's naturally what I like. And then we both at that time shared with washing dishes. If one cooked, the other person would wash the dishes. And then the bathroom, I cannot do the toilet cleaning. I can't do that. So that is Keith's job. And then for me, I would wipe the mirrors, clean the counters, and then Keith would do the tub and shower cleaning. And then also at that time, laundry, we both did that. We both had a responsibility to do that. But Keith is a lot better at folding laundry than I am. And so he would take on the folding of the laundry because for me, the way that I grew up, what was folding laundry? Because we were in survival mode in my childhood, and so our clothes, like, I don't even remember having a drawer. Like, I remember having a basket and just having, like, clothes stacked up in a basket. And so I didn't really learn how to properly fold laundry because there was no proper structure for me to put clothes in. So I kind of like folded my clothes, but they weren't neat. And so Keith had a little bit more childhood experience with folding laundry and putting them in drawers and making them neat and organized. And so he took that chore more than I did because he was more experienced. It's not about counting, oh, how many chores are you doing? I need to do that many chores. No, it's really about what do we do naturally? What do we enjoy naturally? And what do we have more experience in? And levels of standard, right? My standard of folding laundry is here. Keith's standard is here. So it just makes sense that Keith is the one doing the folding of the laundry because he has a higher standard and it's neater and it's just better. And that's the thing. You have to kind of assess each other's skills and experience and go with the one that has a higher skill or experience. And that's how we navigated being a team. And that's how we naturally navigate in general with our partnership and in life. And then another part is really making it a home for the both of us. I'm very creative, so I love having the space feel homey. Keep this very simple. It's not about the aesthetic, it's really about the function. And so the standard is pretty low. And so that there is sort of another example of his skill or his standard is here when it comes to aesthetics and creativity in the home and color of the home. Mine is here, so it's just naturally that I would take the lead on that. It was important for Keith to also be represented, so we had these posters at college. We would have a poster fair, and we got a poster of like the Avengers and DC characters, and so they were really big posters. So we put that in our living room. That's how we decided to navigate that and honor each other in a shared space. So it was really a smooth transition for Keith and I because we just naturally have always been a solid team. More of our struggles, more of our like the friction, more of the disagreements really was how we were conditioned from our homes and the roles that we had to play in our family systems. But when it comes to just us naturally being us and just just vibing, like Keith and I are very compatible and Keith and that was very smooth. And so it's more of us having to learn, oh, this behavior is not really who I am. It was just a learned behavior that I had to do when I was in survival mode. And that's something I can unlearn. It takes a lot of time to unlearn that, but that is, in my opinion, where conflict happens, just in relationships in general, not even just romantic, but just friendships and family relationships. It's really challenging our behaviors and our learned behaviors and having to readjust and consider not only how we do things, but how other people do things. Really about learning how to be flexible and learning how to have all the different skills so that you can really coexist and build healthy relationships with a lot of different people. That's, in my opinion, how you resolve conflict. And it has to work for both people in the relationship, friendship, family relationship, romantic relationship. It has to work for both people. And if it doesn't, then it's not compatible. And it's important to not stay in something that is not healthy. And I speak from experience. I stayed in relationships, friendships that were not healthy for me. And I didn't really know at the time what I needed. And so when I found out what I needed and what really worked for me, that helped me be able to communicate that and say, hey, this is my needs. This is what works for me. That has helped me honor myself more in relationships moving forward. That is the story, that is the context, that is how Keith and I navigated moving in together. And that is a little part of insight in my brain on how I view conflict, how I view relationships. Thank you for listening, and you will see me next week.